Do you regret anything about the way you campaigned leading up to the election, given that now we've seen polling that shows that people think a lot of promises have been broken?
No cuts to education, no cuts to health, no change to pensions, no change to the GST, no cuts to the ABC or SBS.
Well, as thousands marched over the weekend in reaction to last week's tough budget, many are now asking if we can ever trust anything that comes out of politicians' mouths.
Australia is once more open for business.
The business of lying.
Newspoll and the Fairfax Nielsen poll have Labor well out in front on a two-party preferred basis. Opposition leader Bill Shorten's now ahead of Mr Abbott as preferred PM. The Prime Minister this morning reminded us of what he stood for pre-election.
I used to bore journalists and interviewers witless with this mantra. We'll stop the boats, we'll scrap the carbon tax, we'll build the roads of the 21st century and we will get the budget back under control. No cuts to education, no cuts to health, no change to pensions, no change to the GST. Oh, now, sometimes I change the order.
Tony Abbott's government is one built on a foundation of lies.
Really pulled no punches in telling Tony Abbott what I felt about it.
What we saw from Canberra was a kick in the guts to the people of New South Wales.
This will not go away. It is not going to be taken lying down.
So is this the system we want? One where politicians can say one thing to attain power so that they can use that power to do another thing entirely? Or is it time the age of entitlement was over? Not for pensioners or parents, but for politicians like our Prime Minister.
I don't accept that there's been any breach of faith. I think we've fundamentally kept faith with the Australian people.
Yesterday, tens of thousands of people around the nation voicing their displeasure.
Tony Abbott, go to hell! Take your budget there as well!
The news was no better this morning. Latest polls show a collapse in voter confidence. Abbott's disapproval rating climbed to 62%. The Coalition's primary vote has slumped to 35%. And for the first time, voters prefer Bill Shorten as PM.
Every government that brings in a tough budget suffers a hit in the poll.
Seems the government can't catch a break. Even Liberal premiers across the country are baying for blood over Canberra cutting $80 billion from health and education funding and dumping it on the states.
We believe there'll be significant reductions as of the 1st of July this year in key areas of services.
The premiers are fighting their corner, as they should. But I've got to fight the nation's corner.
Not even a week after the tough budget came down and the government's riled up the protesters, wound up the premiers and tanked in the polls. And today, at least, they're completely unrepentant.
We are not in politics to play silly populist games. We're about building a stronger future for our nation. There is no choice.
So I agree with you.
Saying F Abbott. Saying F Abbott.